Hi True Avatars, welcome to my review for Quality Dreams Reasonably Priced, an indie visual novel developed by Zorkie Studios. So, I have talked about this game quite a bit on the show. I've had Andy, one half of Zorkie Studios, on the podcast for an interview previously. That was back in April, I believe. So, because I'm a little close to this game, I'm going to give you some disclosure before I start my review. First off, I did receive a free code from Zorkie Studios to play and review this game. I also did play the first hour of this game as an unfinished demo before playing the full game. And this is a visual novel, and there's branching paths, multiple branching paths, and I likely was not able to find them all. So any criticisms might be null and void through finding another route or ending. Like I said, I did also interview the dev already on the show, or one half of the devs. There are two devs at Zorkie Studios. I interviewed Endelian. So there's a little bias there, but I'm going to do my best to give you an unbiased review. In addition to that, I generally don't give a score in my reviews because I really don't want to start ranking games, pitting them against each other. As soon as you start adding numbers, they start being like a stack and a hierarchy. I don't really like that. I think that's fine for AAA games, for bigger games with bigger budgets and stuff like that. But when it's just like a small dev team, especially a local dev team, it just doesn't feel right to start, pitting devs against that's how it feels to me anyway, pitting devs against each other. So, a lot of these devs are just trying to get their games out into the world, and that's what this podcast is for, is to help with that goal, is just to give indie devs and queer devs specifically a voice, so, or a platform, right, to kind of highlight all the great queer games that are out there, especially the independent ones. So anyway, I will still do my best to give an unbiased review. I will still give you my positives and negatives, and at the end of the episode, and at the end of the review, I will tell you if I liked the game or not, and if I'd recommend it. And from there, you can use your judgment to decide how you think I feel about it. But I'll do my best to be as clear as possible. Okay, so for some context here, Quality Dreams Reasonably Priced is a visual novel that features Jin, a non-binary character who works as a psych line for a clinic that provides body modifications or body mods to prospective clients. As a psych line, their job, and thus yours as the player, is to interview these prospective clients to determine whether or not the usually life-changing body mods they desire are a good fit for them. As the player, it is up to you to assess the information you gather to make the best decision possible, while the body mod shop's owner is also pressuring you to accept every client. His name is Baron, by the way, and we're going to get to him. If the gatekeeping nature and your boss's demands weren't enough for you, the game also features a financial savings mechanic, because Jin is saving up enough money in order to afford a critical life-saving surgery for their dying pet rabbit. Again, it is up to you as the player to weigh the ethics of approving body mods with the knowledge that each body mod you sell leads to earning a commission that will help finance your rabbit surgery. Do you approve a body mod that someone doesn't need just to make a quick buck? Or stick to your morals but risk your rabbit's life? Therein lies the ethical dilemma of this game, and there's a lot of ethical questions this game raises, and that's partially why I love it. So anyway, yeah, this game, like, on the outset, you're like, oh, this is kind of charming, and then you're like, oh, no pressure, right? So what I liked about this game is, first off, there are a lot of queer characters in this game. Like, almost every character is queer in some way. There's a variety of gender expression and gender presentation in the game. There's a variety of pronouns. Sexuality isn't as explicit with most of the characters. There is one straight character, but I don't know that person's gender identity. So they definitely could still have been queer. They were just in a straight passing relationship. And then there's the body mods too. So in terms of queerness, there's like queer characters, but there's like other queerness in this game. Like it's like seeped into the game's DNA. So the body mods themselves allow for a lot of different gender affirming, care, basically. The first character right off the bat is called Ocean, and they are there to get their gender affirming surgery. It's not clear exactly what they're getting with their gender affirming surgery. You have to imagine it's probably top surgery, but maybe other things as well. And you also do have the option to upsell them on stuff like a beard, for example, like better facial hair. And when you do offer the facial hair, Ocean is very positive. If you pick the right dialogue options, Ocean is very positive on it because he really wants a curly beard, and you can provide that through body mods. There's also another character who's not explicitly queer, but I related to her very heavily because she is she's like a talk show host. Now, granted, it's not a podcast host, but she hosts a talk show, and her voice is very key to her show with her fans. And she feels pressured to change her voice from outside forces in the game, particularly her parents. And so it is up to you as the player to decide whether or not she should be approved for this surgery. And I think I did talk about this previously when I've talked about the game, but what I find very interesting about this character is that I'm of two minds of it. I'm actually of three minds. First off, you shouldn't be getting surgeries because you're being pressured into getting them. Simple as that. And in this case, body mods, but it's surgical in nature. Second off, I'm a trans person who has on and off been very dissatisfied with her voice. Some days I like it. Some days I don't. So relating to her, I felt the opportunity to change my voice, I would jump at that chance. So I almost wanted to approve it for her on my behalf because I was so excited that she had that opportunity. But then there's also the ethical dilemma of in my case at least, should I change my voice because other people want me to? And I know this kind of logic applies to her as well, but in my case, sometimes I'm happy with my voice. So I could ramble on this for a while, so I'm going to kind of cut this short because I'm kind of getting in the weeds with this. But basically, I found this character very interesting and very queer, even though in a lot of ways they weren't specifically queer. They could have been she could have been a trans woman. But anyway. Yeah, and all that is to say, there's a lot of queerness seeped into it. There's a lot of queer characters, a lot of gender expression, and the body mods allow you to express yourself in a way. And in this society too, queerness doesn't seem to be mocked or derided. It's pretty normalized. It's everything else in the game that is kind of really messed up, and that's where I'm going to get to next. So there's the setting as well, right? So the game takes place in this underground building. Basically, it's like basements and basements and basements. It's like a tower, but it goes down instead of up because basically humans in this timeline have destroyed the planet, likely due to climate change. And so because of that, the surface is not as habitable as it used to be. It sounds like from some of the dialogue, there might be certain civilizations that do live on the surface, but you are part of a city that goes down and down and down. And it's a very specific class structure because the closer you are to the surface, the more likely you are to see sunlight. The closer you are to the surface, the more likely, the richer you are, basically, right? It's a late stage capitalist society, and Delian did specifically state all this in the interview that we had originally. But I do really like the game because of this. I really like that, you don't get a full view of everything that's going on. You don't get you get little bits and pieces so you can connect the dots yourself. And I think first off, that's great storytelling, but also, there's just enough information there for you to fill in the gaps and use your imagination and really decide for yourself, how dark is the society? How bad is it? How good is it? There's utopic elements, but there's very dystopic elements or dystopian elements, I should say. I really love how the juxtaposition of how utopian it is in some ways, like the body mods and stuff like that. But then there's also obviously there's really dystopian things. You have to pay at the end of each night, you have to pay your bills, and you can continue paying a couple dollars to block the ads in your bedroom. Actually, your apartment is one room. So it's not just your bedroom, it's your kitchen, your bedroom, your everything, your living room, anyway. So yeah, I liked what it had to say about society in general, about civilization, about the future and where we're going to. And there's a nice message at the end of the game too that kind of underscores that as well. So, talked a little bit about the ethical dilemma in this game, but, basically, it's up to you as the Cycline to approve or deny surgeries, it's the recommendations. You can't really put your foot down, for sure, and discourage anyone, but you can have a say. And sometimes when you have a say, characters will listen to you, and other times the clients won't listen to you, and they come back and get the surgery anyway. But the game rewards you towards your goal of making money and saving your rabbit. It's actually very easy to game the system if you just approve surgeries, if you upsell, if you cross sell, right? They agree to, the client you're selling to, wants their surgery. And then at the end, you can recommend up to 5 other things, body mods they might want. And so, if you can get them to agree to 2 or 3 or 4 of them, you can make a lot of money, and you make your boss happy too. You make everyone else in the game happy because everyone's making money in this capitalist society, including yourself. And it's very easy at that point. My first playthrough, I approved a lot of surgeries. Oh, that's actually the other thing I wanted to mention. That's what I forgot earlier when I was talking about, maybe I mentioned this, but when I was talking about the ethical dilemma of Florence Sanderine, the character who wants her voice changed, or is trying to get her voice changed, but doesn't necessarily want her voice changed. If a person is asking for a surgery and they have the bodily autonomy and like the capacity, to make that decision to consent to something for themselves, they should be allowed to do so, whether or not there are outside forces. Again, it's a very big ethical dilemma, and that's part of it too, right? So I'm of one mind, where if someone wants a surgery, they should be able to get it. So it makes it easier for me to approve surgeries. Although I wanted to know about these people, so I did dig in. And every time you touch a nerve, like, it really feels like you've offended someone or upset someone or set yourself back. So like, it feels like real people that you're talking to in this game, right? But if you give people what they want, and that's basically everyone in the game but you also get what you want, even though you might be selling out yourself. And I feel like that reflects society very well, because I was playing it as I was reacting to my boss, I was reacting to the clients the way I react to clients and my boss in real life. So I played on a second playthrough. I tried to go against my own character, my own traits, to see how things would go. And honestly, it made me feel even worse, because I was denying surgeries. I was approving ones I didn't agree with. I was upsetting my boss. And then in other ways, I was also making different people happy. So like, and at the end of the day, like, you're not going to make everyone happy. And so I really like that this game brings up all these questions and all these tiny moments. Every time you're choosing a piece of dialogue or reacting to someone or making any kind of choice at all, you're really feeling it. You really feel it, emotionally, psychologically, as if these are real people. And then also too, like, you're rewarded for being scummy in general. Like, if you take under the table deals with another character, even though your boss isn't happy about that, but the other person is happy. So if you keep buttering everyone's bread in this game, you can actually very easily approve your rabbit's surgery, get the money for it to get to the surgery to save your rabbit's life, right? And then you're also rewarded too for denying Florence Sanderine's, her voice surgery. It's a lot of work to get there. And if you don't do everything exactly right, even if you think you've done it right, she'll come back and still get the surgery, and she'll be miserable about it. But she's like, but this is the right thing. But if you manage to convince her that it's not right for her because you feel that it isn't, she comes back and like, there's a really nice reward. It's like really wholesome and really amazing. But again, aside from that, like, the game runs in conflict with that mostly, right? Like, if you give people what they want, even if it's not really what they want or what they should have, you're going to make money. That's just how it works. Okay, I've been rambling a bit. I want to talk about the art, because the characters are so beautifully drawn. I think Nez, the other dev on the dev team at Zorkie Studios, is the one who's behind the art. And so the characters are so beautifully drawn, and not only do the character designs and features heavily reflect their personalities, but the facial reactions help to underline the sense that these characters might be someone you know in real life. So not only was I like reacting to like the psychological and human aspects to having a dialogue with these characters, but also the way they were reacting to me visually was like, I felt it again. Like you'll feel it in your soul when you see a character angry that you said no. You'll feel happy that you'll feel happy when they're happy that you said yes to something they want. And you'll feel sad like they feel sad when they're conflicted, because you're also conflicted. The empathy in this game is off the charts. For example, saying yes to Ocean's gender-affirming mods will make you feel elated when you see how elated he is. And saying no to another character who has no support system for recovery, it's going to break your heart. And Baron, your boss in particular, he has a very off-putting face. Not in only how he looks so much. I don't think like his facial design in particular, like I don't think he's ugly. I don't think he looks evil, but his facial expressions, and how he can, like, he puts on this fake smile, these fake eyes. And you can tell behind it, there's just this capitalist sleazy person behind it. Like he's got this horrible agenda, and you can kind of tell, but also like the face he makes is the kind of face that you've probably seen in real life hundreds of times when someone is saying one thing, but they mean another, and you just feel kind of scummy because you don't want to upset them either. And so these facial expressions convey that very, very well. And I think that's kind of amazing. Like, I can't even begin to understand what it would take to properly convey that outside of like literally talking with someone who's like that and motion capturing them into the game. So hats off to Nez for the amazing work that she did on the game. So now I'm going to kind of talk about what I didn't like, which isn't a lot, to be honest. And I'm going to try not to spoil anything, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the ending. Because I felt the ending left a bit to be desired. It does have a satisfying ending in some paths of the game. I won't deny that it's not satisfying in terms of hitting all the right notes, but for me, it felt in particular a bit rushed. Both the good and the bad ending I experienced. Like, again, all the right notes were there. Everything kind of got wrapped up in a neat little bow, but I still wanted a little bit more, just a little bit more time, a little bit slower in the pacing. Maybe a bit of an epilogue would have been nice as well. Because you get all the rewards, like everything kind of like comes together at the end in a really nice way, but I did want a little bit more out of that. And maybe part of it too is that just this game is so in depth and full of, lived in real humans that I just kind of maybe wanted to spend a little bit more time with them. So yeah, I always felt like I was talking to a real person. Any choices I made, could have upset them or made them happy, just like in real life. So again, I guess I was so invested in the game. I just wanted a little bit more out of the ending. It was just a little bit rushed. It wasn't a bad ending. I'm not saying that. And when I say bad ending, I don't mean like I got the bad ending. I don't mean like even the good ending was like good. I guess I just wanted a little bit more out of it. Anyway, I've been rambling a bit. My reviews always run somewhere in the ballpark of like 15 to 20 minutes, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up there, but I'm going to give my recommendation now. And my recommendation is, despite what I didn't like, is that I cannot recommend this game enough. The game's ethical questions kept getting harder and harder to answer in myself with each new client. There's also so much more to discover with the characters in the world, far beyond the in-depth tease from the demo. I've often wondered what it might feel like to hold power over someone in a way a Cycline does. And I know that sounds a bit dark, but I guess you're always curious, like, what if I was in, like, the capitalist shoes? Or what if I just had control over someone's like surgical decisions? Like, like what if I was, what if I was approving a trans woman's vaginoplasty, for example? So determining who has access to what they want and need, and let me tell you, having that power, it does not feel good. Rarely ever feels good unless you're giving someone what they want. But like, even when you make the right decision, and the right decision is something that makes the other person unhappy, but it's ultimately right for them, it still feels horrible. And so this game is going to reflect you as much as it's also going to teach you about yourself. And I think that's wonderful. So I highly recommend this game. I highly recommend playing it and playing it multiple times, taking multiple paths, and maybe even doing things you wouldn't do in real life. Because it's a video game and you can do that safely. Quality Dreams, reasonably priced. Please go play it. I highly recommend it.